Talk to me. Let's take you to San Bruno now in California. This is the site of the YouTube headquarters that has been subject to that shooting, police confirming that they were responding to an active shooter. We're awaiting a news conference from the police in San Bruno, which is due to start in the next few moments. We're expecting an update from them, least of which on the state of those people that have been injured. We know that several people have been taken to San Francisco General Hospital, although the number hasn't been confirmed or the state of their injuries. Here's the news conference. Let's listen in.
And the critical male, 36.
36.
Brent, I'm going to take a picture of your page because I don't have a notebook.
More likely.
Did you say 3:30 a surgeon is coming up?
Yes.
Can I get a picture?
They're
So,
talking
Brent,
about...
You say at 3:30 you'll have more coming in?
Yes.
Okay, and you have, once again, one fair, one serious,
one critical. That's correct.
And 2 women and 1 man.
That's correct.
All right, and what else can you tell us about the circumstances?
You know, I don't know anything about the circumstances. I mean, patients who were routed to us because we're the trauma center nearest.
Would you be
Sorry, there was
getting the most serious of the patients?
You know, it's hard to say, and I think part of that depends on traffic. It depends on lots of things. So the other trauma center nearby is at Stanford. And I know they've received patients also.
Do you know how many?
I don't.
Okay. Do you know how many total victims there are?
I do not.
Have any of these patients talked about what happened?
Not to me.
Not to you. So 3:30 we get more information.
Correct.
And until then...
Brent, tell me your last name again.
Thank you, sir.
Andrew.
Okay, so that was Brent Andrew, who's the spokesman.
OK, well, that was Brent Andrew from the San Francisco General Hospital. We know that they'd taken in several people there. He said, well, he only described 3 injured, 1 in a fair situation, 1 in a serious condition and 1 critical. Greg Milam is still standing by in Los Angeles for us. So we've had some confirmation as to the state of those individuals that have been injured at that hospital, the San Francisco General Hospital there, Greg, but others have been injured and taken elsewhere.
Yeah, 4 to 5 patients taken to another hospital, the Stanford Hospital, which is nearer to San Bruno. I should say we're also expecting an update from the police as well, the police chief in San Bruno, around about now. And that will give us, I think, perhaps a clearer idea of what actually happened inside that YouTube campus. But a reminder, US media are saying that the suspected gunman, in this case is a woman actually, the suspected assailant is down, which generally means has been killed by the police or by themselves in this incident. And again, that it is a woman who is believed to be the responsible person in this incident, but no further confirmation other than that from the hospital there about how many victims in total, the extent of all of those injuries, and whether there have been any other fatalities. This started just after 1 o'clock local time. It seems from numerous reports inside that YouTube campus that it happened in an open-air cafeteria area where the shooting began. Whether it extended elsewhere, we don't know, but there was a huge, as you'd imagine, panic from people nearby who heard those shots, heard other people running for safety and joined that as well. Let's listen to what the police have to say now.
OK, Greg, we're going to go straight to that police news conference.
Upon arrival, officers encountered numerous employees fleeing from the building. It was very chaotic, as you can imagine. We did encounter 1 victim with an apparent gunshot wound towards the front of the business as we arrived. Several minutes later, while conducting a search of the premises, officers located a second individual with a gunshot wound that appears to may have been self-inflicted. We are still working on confirming that. 2 additional victims were located several minutes later at an adjacent business. The extent of all of the injuries of our victims are unknown right now. They were all transported for emergency medical care, but they are all unknown. So if I missed that, we have 4 victims who have all been transported for gunshot-related injuries, and we have 1 subject who's deceased inside the building with a self-inflicted wound that at this time we believe to be the shooter, but we're still following up on that. Multiple law enforcement agencies have responded to assist. We're very grateful for everyone's help and assistance. We could not have responded and accomplished this without everybody's help. This is an active event and an active investigation, and numerous law enforcement personnel from numerous different local agencies are still conducting a search of the business just to make sure that that it is clear. We conducted a quick, immediate search of the premises when the first officers arrived as pursuant to our active shooter protocol. And after that search was concluded, now we're going through with a methodical, slow search just to make sure that we cover all the bases. That's all I have for you at this time. We hope to have something a little later. I cannot give you, I cannot give you the time of the next press update, but we'll put that out as soon as we have that information. I'm sorry? No, I cannot confirm that. It's a female. My understanding is that they've been transitioned. They're all designation now. Reported and they're being treated for injuries that are treatable. We're hoping for the best, obviously.
Are there more people inside the building, or?
My understanding is the building has been evacuated. There are people in the immediate area. We're obviously trying to contact a large amount of people to try to identify and gain some information from witnesses at the scene. So you can imagine it's a monumental task with the number of employees that work inside the building.
Chief, can you tell us about what weapon or weapons?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us about what weapon or weapons were recovered?
I don't have that information. I'm sorry.
Do you have police in San Bruno, the sheriff, who else is?
We have. I haven't taken inventory of all the agencies here. There are numerous agencies. We work well with our neighboring partners, and we're grateful that they're here. But there's a lot of them.
And do you have a gender of the shooter?
Yeah, I want to clarify that we did locate a victim with what we believe to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It's a female, but the investigation is still ongoing before we can put all the pieces together.
Is this person an ex-employee?
I don't have any information regarding that.
Are you looking for another shooter?
We are clearing the building and searching the building in a slow, methodical manner like we would do anyway. So we haven't eliminated that possibility, but we have no information to suggest that there's somebody else in there that we're looking for.
Where are the employees now? We saw them walking down the street.
Yeah, a lot of employees self-evacuated, as you can imagine. We've identified a group that we want to talk to, and we have staging areas where our detectives are reaching out to them and interviewing them. So we're trying to do as orderly as we can, but a lot of people, pretty hectic scenario. So it's a task.
Are there still people in that building that are with YouTube that are there now besides the ones that you're identified in question?
No, I believe my understanding is that the building has been evacuated, so they're all outside of that building.
Okay, how many people are you talking about here?
Several hundred, a few hundred. I'm sorry, a few hundred. It was my understanding.
In what floor was she?
I don't know.
And was her boyfriend there? That's what.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know the circumstances surrounding this,
And it was
this
only
at
one
all.
shooter.
I don't want to eliminate any possibility. I don't know any of that for sure. Like I said, this is still active. We're still investigating this as I'm speaking to you. So there's a lot of things that I just simply don't know right now.
Is it sure that the shots started in the courtyard? Do you know anything?
I don't have that information. All right. I will try to get you an update as soon as we can once we know more. But I think that I've given you almost everything that we know at this point. So appreciate it. Yeah, when we know, I don't want to give you a time because I may not have a lot for you. So when we can identify a time that's appropriate to come back and update you again, we'll do that immediately. We'll probably put that out through our media list and through social media.
Sorry, Chief. We understand from one employee that police had to borrow badges in order to access parts of the building. Did you have any trouble getting where you needed
I
to
don't
go?
have any information regarding that right now.
Is there
Ready?
a problem with security at YouTube? We heard there's not even metal detectors on the outside.
We're not even at that point yet. We're still trying to address the situation in front of us. Okay, I will get you some more information in a few minutes.
Are there employees of YouTube?
I don't know. I have not. They've not been identified. So that's all I have. And again, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.
Okay, we just heard from San Bruno Police Chief.
So Ed Balberini there, Chief of Police at San Bruno in California, confirming that it is still an active investigation, but that there is one deceased inside the building, died from a self-inflicted wound, and he did confirm that that deceased person was a woman, believed to be the perpetrator of the attack. He also said that there were 4 injured, suffering gunshot wounds, and those have been taken to hospital. Greg Milam's still with us in Los Angeles. Greg, he confirmed there very much so that it was a continuing investigation, that they are now going through the building more methodically than perhaps previously. That first quick search, now they are taking their time and going through that building inch by inch.
Yeah, and it's clear from the tone, and when you look at the pictures of the police response on the ground there, that they do believe, they're pretty sure this is over, but that abundance of caution that they will go through that building to make sure there's no one else, no second assailant who they should be looking for, and that confirmation of how many people were injured and killed as well, that they found one person with a gunshot wound in front of the campus, a second person dead from what appears to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and two other people who'd suffered injuries as well. But they believe that person who shot themselves is the gunman, the gunwoman in this case, who was responsible for this. It doesn't appear that there are any other victims, or from what he was saying there, that they are looking for anyone else. One of the stories just before he spoke that was circulating was that this was a domestic incident, that the person responsible was acquainted with someone on the campus, and that may well be the reason behind this shooting. But of course, they will go through every possible motive. They will know very quickly who the person is who was responsible, and they will begin to look for that motivation, whether it was something like terrorism or crime, if it was domestic violence, if it was workplace related. All of those things will form part of their investigation. But the mood there on the ground appears to suggest that the police believe this is over now, and that investigation can begin, although they will just make sure that there's no one else posing a threat inside any of the buildings on that campus.
Yes, indeed, he did say he didn't want to eliminate any possibilities, so that search continuing. For the moment, Greg, thank you very much. So we're going to take you into the press preview now. First look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour or so, we'll be seeing what's making the headlines with Evening Standard columnist Aisha Hazarika and The Sun's political editor Tom Newton-Dunn. So let's see what's on some of those front pages for you now. The Eye goes with the news that scientists say they can't prove that the nerve agent used in the Salisbury spy poisoning came from Russia. The Guardian also leads with that story, while the Times says the news has left Theresa May struggling to maintain the international alliance against Russia over the attack. How many more innocents must die is the headline in the Express after the shooting to death of a 17-year-old Tanisha Melbourne on a street in London. The Sun reports how the victim died in her mother's arms just a short time after she was hit. The same story in the Metro, which also reports on another apparently unconnected shooting a few miles away a short time later. The Telegraph has Theresa May's call for businesses to act to close the gender pay gap. The Financial Times carries the latest developments in the takeover bid for Sky involving 21st Century Fox and Disney. While the Star leads with the latest plot twist in Coronation Street. And with me tonight, Aisha Hazarika and Tom Newton-Dunn. Welcome to you both. We'll start sort of off the papers because our lead story, this shooting in San Bruno in California. Yet again, this time not a school, but 1,700 people work at that YouTube headquarters. We've had a line that the president has been informed and he's been kept abreast of developments. But we're probably likely to see the same statements or hear the same statements from him as we've heard very many times in the past.
Well, I think that's going to be the tragedy of today. It doesn't initially look like this incident is quite as serious, or the fatality rate is quite as high as the Florida state school shooting of last month, which was horrific, and of course then precipitated the march on Washington by hundreds of thousands of high school kids, all making very passionate speeches. Now, the great tragedy is a lot of these kids don't have the vote, and if they do have the vote, then they're not able to make them materially affect the outcome of elections, which is why Donald Trump will sit in the White House and continue to say, because it was the people who voted for him who don't want gun control, that there will be no further gun control. One very interesting thing is coming up, though, which is the midterm elections in November, where the entirety of the Congress comes up, or the House of Representatives comes up for grabs. And whether that younger vote, that perhaps more liberal vote on the east and west coast of the United States, can make their feelings known and their voices heard, that gun control will now be an electoral issue. It's gone rocketing up the scale of issues, and congressmen will lose their seats unless they promise to enact it. Only when that starts to happen, I think will Washington then begin to hear this message loud and clear.
Do you think, Aisha, we're going to hear anything different after this latest incident?
No, I think it will be business as usual. I think Tom's analysis is right. I mean, don't forget, this is a president who ran with the backing and a lot of money from the NRA. The National Rifle Association is one of the most important movers and shakers in American politics. And they have so many senators and governors who are basically in their pocket. And Donald Trump famously said in the middle of his election campaign, you know, you look after me and I'm going to look after you. So I don't think he really will yield massively. There were some signals that he might be prepared to consider a few changes, but I think it will be incredibly difficult for him to actually, even if he wanted to, be very, very difficult for him to get anything through his legislative process. And I think that Tom is right, but there is a very big age divide in America over the gun issue. I think younger people do want to see big changes in the gun laws, but there's a lot of people who are very emotionally and culturally wedded to the right to bear arms, and they have this misguided belief that owning a firearm will somehow keep them safer.
Well, this story obviously going to be on the front pages, happening as it did this evening. Obviously, it isn't in the papers that we've got selected here. We'll, of course, return to San Bruno for further developments. But let's try and get away some of the stories that you've had a look at this evening. And the eye, starting with that, the scientist cannot say nerve